Hello and welcome to Learn, Do, Become Radio, episode 111. Today we are talking about a fun family tradition that we call We Love to Be a Family Day. So I was talking with our daughter Aaliyah. She's 21. She's the one that just returned from her church humanitarian mission to Ukraine. She's been there for the past 18 months. And now she has joined our Learn, Do, Become team. She's helping in our free community Facebook group. She's working with me on a lot of projects. We're having a lot of fun together. And as I was planning out some of the podcasts and talking with her about our content calendar, she said, "Mom, I think you need a little more information about families and about some of the things that we do in our family." And I love that because at Learn, Do, Become, we do teach a lot about productivity and organization, but ultimately we want to talk more about the broader life architecture. How are we creating relationships? How are we building strong families? How are we creating balanced lives so that by the time we get to the end of our lives, we're able to look back and know that we lived without regrets and know that we put our time and energy into the things that mattered most. So I asked Aaliyah if she wanted to do a little guest podcast for us today and share a little bit more about our We Love to Be a Family Day, this celebration, this special holiday that we've been doing for years and years, because I wanted you to hear it from her perspective. I think it's one thing for me to talk about what we've done with our children. It's even another thing for me to do a podcast with our children and talk about it. But when I turn it over to them, and in this case, turning it over to Aaliyah, I want you to hear what this means to her, what she remembers about it, and the advice that she would offer to you. And if you do not have children in your life right now and you're thinking, does this podcast really apply to me? I do encourage you to go ahead and listen and then ask yourself what principles you could apply to your own life and your own relationships. Because this doesn't have to be something you would do inside of a family setting. This could be something that you do with your friends, setting up a special adventure. You could do a little treasure hunt. And I know it sounds a little bit silly, but honestly, Eric and I did this date night with a bunch of adults in our neighborhood. We had the best time. It was kind of like a scavenger hunt type treasure hunt, and we all were running around doing these different challenges and then coming back. It's kind of like an Amazing Race type thing. So fun. And I think when you put a little bit of creativity into your life and into your relationships and into your families, you start noticing there's more excitement and more joy. And ultimately, you're creating memories that really are priceless. So, okay, I'll turn the time over now to Aaliyah. And we have on our show notes page, learndobecome.com/episode 111. links and pictures and all that you could ever want. Okay? All right. Enjoy.
Hello, my name is Aaliyah Perry, and I'm so excited to be recording this podcast today about one of our favorite family traditions called We Love to Be a Family Day. This is something that was started when I was in elementary school, and I'm now a college student, but the tradition is still going strong, and it's still something we look forward to so much every year. So essentially, what We Love to Be a Family Day is the whole family does something together on a Saturday, usually the Saturday right near Valentine's Day, but also sometimes in the month of February if we're all busy. And it's just a day centered around family and spending time together and just being closer together and also doing some really fun things, also mixing in some service in the community and for friends, and also some usual Saturday chores or just general Saturday responsibilities. And my mom came up with this idea at first. She had the idea to just do something fun with our family around Valentine's Day. And at first, we didn't really know what to expect. We were told that it was going to be such a fun family holiday. And we woke up the next morning and she had cut a brown paper grocery bag so that it laid flat. And she made a little treasure map on it that had little hearts with numbers 1 through 7 or 8. And they were all connected with little dashed and dotted lines. And it looked just like a treasure map, and throughout the day, she would give us little hearts, and the heart was kind of representative of something we were going to do that day. And on the back of the heart was a little 2 or 3 line poem that had a little rhyme and a little clue of what we were going to be doing next. And so it was super fun to receive those hearts and then try to guess and see what we were going to be doing next throughout the day. And this was something that was so fun to us because we just had no idea what to expect. Sometimes it would be just simple things that we did every single Saturday, and sometimes it would be a little bit of a bigger activity that we had been looking forward to for a little while, but we just hadn't had a chance to do that yet. And I'll share a couple examples, some specific examples of what we did in a second. But I think one of the reasons why this tradition mattered so much to me and my siblings was because it was so easy to do as a family, and also we were able to adapt it every single year. It wasn't anything too fancy or complicated or over the top, and honestly, we all kind of put our input into the tradition and the holiday, and we were able to list some of the favorite things that we wanted to do or things that would be exciting for us, and we really used the interests and the things that people were passionate about and excited about in our family as we planned these little activities. And so here are a couple examples that definitely stand out to me. On one of our first We Love to Be a Family days, we wrote that we were going to have a family group hug. That was one of the first things on the list for the day. And it was so fun because we didn't really do family group hugs, honestly. And so that was probably one of the very first ones. And we all kind of collectively agreed that it was fun, but a little awkward. And so what we did instead was we adapted it to something called a cinnamon roll hug that we learned from a friend. And we all put our hands into the center, and we all kind of curled our hands and swirled them together so that it kind of looked like this giant cinnamon roll made of hands. And then we had a little family cheer or something we would say. And so for the past few We Love to Be a Family days, it has been started with a little cinnamon roll hug all together as a family. And then it went on from there. Sometimes we went and did a service project for a neighbor. On one of our earlier holidays as a family, we did some sweeping for a neighbor. She needed her porch swept, and we just went over there as a family. We were able to do that and do some service. Another time we volunteered at the Food Care Coalition, which is a place that provides meals and support for those experiencing homelessness. And it was a really great way to see how this new organization was impacting the community, and really gave us some great insights on how we could get involved later on in the future. And so those little aspects of service sprinkled into this family tradition and this day of celebration and being with the family, it really helped open our eyes to the fact that we had a really great purpose for trying to unite our family and do something that was bigger than ourselves, and to do something more than just looking for, okay, how can we have fun today? How can we make this day about us and what we want to do? How can we reach out and look outwards? And so that's something that really impacted me, because our parents could have just planned one fun thing after the next, going from store to store, restaurant to restaurant, and going to all these places. But a big focus of this day was really trying to be well-rounded in the activities we were doing. And another addition onto that is we are part of a church congregation where the members of the church, we volunteer to clean the church maybe once every month or every other month. And our particular Saturday for We Love to Be a Family Day happened to fall on our church cleaning assignment date. And I remember that at first we were like, that's going to be interesting, because, cleaning the church was just something that we did pretty regularly, and it wasn't something that maybe would be considered special for We Love to Be a Family Day. But my mom wrote a little poem about how we can go clean the church and help out a little bit, and it ended up being so fun. Maybe it wasn't as maybe quote unquote fun as other activities we could have planned, but it was really meaningful because we recognized that we were helping to make sure our church was nice and clean and all ready to go for the Sunday worship services. And so it became something really meaningful that I was able to really carry with me. And I think that probably happened when I was in high school, the beginning of high school. And that's something that really I haven't forgot about. And then, of course, we did some other fun things like one year, my mom kind of called them the anchor activities, because there was maybe one or maybe two bigger things that were the highlights of the day. So that was something like seeing a matinee as a family, or maybe going to a new restaurant that we'd all been excited to try. Something that might have cost a little bit more money in comparison to the cinnamon roll hug or doing service, but that became kind of the main anchor event for our We Love to Be a Family Day, and that was usually towards the end of the day. And so I remember one of the funniest things about going to see this little matinee. I think it was a little bit far away from our city, and we were super excited for it, but we didn't quite know if we were going to go see a movie or even what movie we were going to see. And I remember my parents brought along some bandanas and said, okay, you can be blindfolded while we're driving, so it stays a surprise. And I remember that was so exciting for us. I was probably only between 10 or 12 years old. And if someone had probably looked in our car, they would have thought, what in the world is happening in there? Why are they wearing blindfolds in the car? And yeah, maybe it was a little bit interesting, but it was so fun because we were just thinking we were getting driven to this really fun surprise. And right before that, we had gone to the dollar store and we each picked out a candy to take to the movies. And so it was just such a little fun, kind of interesting, but really fun way that we just went to the movies that one time specifically. And so these are just a couple of the examples that really stood out in my mind. And the thing is, there were a lot of other aspects folded into that. We delivered bread to some neighbors and friends. We made some Valentine's Day cards for our neighbors and people we loved. We had a visit with some family friends that were from out of state. And there were just so many things that I really can't even incorporate them into one little podcast because there was such a variety of things. And the best thing is that it was really simple things. And so it might not have stood out that much, but when we go back and look at the pictures and when we look at the old pictures of the clues and the maps and the little activities we did, it becomes so clear that our parents really put a lot of thought into making it a meaningful day. And it was so simple and relatively stress-free because we didn't remember them feeling stressed or running around thinking they had to do X, Y, and Z for it to be a successful day. It was really simple and it was really meaningful. So that's something that I will always remember. And now I'm a college student, my sister's a college student, and so we definitely have a lot on our plates right now with work and school and other hobbies and extracurriculars and stuff like that. But We Love to Be a Family Day is something that is still very high on our priority list, and it's something that we are definitely going to make time for, and it brings the entire family together no matter how busy our schedule is or how crazy things are. And in fact, this is going to be a really fun holiday because I have just been living in Ukraine for the past year and a half. I was doing a church and humanitarian mission there, and I missed the last We Love to Be a Family Day. I was able to FaceTime in for a little bit of it, but it wasn't the same thing. It wasn't the same as being there in person with everyone and having a great day and celebrating with the family. And so this year, I'm hoping that I can maybe plan a little bit and help be involved because I wasn't able to attend last year. So if that gives you any idea of how exciting this is for our family, it's awesome. I love it. And so I just want to encourage you as you're listening to this, whether you're a parent or a grandparent or a caretaker, or maybe even an older sibling, if you have just anyone who is excited to participate in this family activity. And I know this year might be a little bit different because of the pandemic, and things might have to be a little bit more home-centered or local or outdoors, depending on where you're at. That's the beauty of We Love to Be a Family Day. It can be so flexible. Maybe you don't have a really flexible work schedule and you can only spend 2 or 3 hours as a family all together. That's still awesome, and you can still do so much together in that amount of time that you have. And maybe someone in your family is sick, or maybe they're not able to go outside and participate in these different activities. It is totally okay because this holiday can be whatever is best for your family and your situation. And so that's probably just my biggest encouragement for you, is to think about how you could implement this in your family, whether it's to celebrate Valentine's Day or whether it's just to create a better habit of spending time as a family and really making sure that you're developing those relationships and creating these meaningful moments for people to connect and also have some fun. And I think just to close is, of course, planning 1 or 2 anchor activities is something that was really meaningful and really helped at least my mom, and then helped my siblings and I to plan things later on. Is to make sure you have these anchor activities and then you can plan little tiny things in between. And maybe if you just have that one bigger activity, or maybe your activity is going to be, we're going to make a family dinner together, or something that's a little bit bigger or more time consuming. Just having something like that in mind really helps to set the pace of the day and the flow. And so now we are planning ours right now, and we're going to adapt it, like doing a little run around the cul-de-sac with our dog because she likes running around the cul-de-sac. Something as simple as that works, and it's a really, really easy way to add it as the next little place on the quote-unquote treasure map for We Love to Be a Family Day. And of course, our parents made it exciting, and they had a lot of patience with it, but it wasn't perfect. And we could tell that they had set the time apart from their work and their busy schedules for us. And my mom, actually, we talked about this podcast before I recorded it, and she said, I just want everyone to know that even if the kids are fighting, they're still going to look back on it and have good memories. And I don't remember the fighting, but I'm guessing that we probably bickered and we probably whined and we probably complained a little bit during the time. And so that was something that I think was good for me to hear, is that we weren't always super excited or maybe as grateful as we could have been. Or maybe we'd had a long day, someone was tired, someone was having problems with something. I don't remember any of that. I just remember how fun the holiday was. So if you do decide to implement this, and if it doesn't go as well as you're hoping, or people's attitudes aren't as great as you wish they could be, that is okay. No stress, because your children are just going to remember the positive parts for the most part, especially since our parents reacted pretty calmly and positively to how we were reacting. And so this isn't going to be the most perfect day ever, or, everything won't go exactly according to your plans, but it's the thought that counts, right? And so that is just a couple of my thoughts on We Love to Be a Family Day. It's something that I'm so excited to continue with my own family one day, and I just look forward to it every year. And so I know that this is obviously a one-time-a-year thing where we focus on spending time together as a family, but I think it sets a really good precedence for having more family time and really working together to find things that unite the family and go well with everyone's common interests. So good luck, and I hope you're able to incorporate We Love to Be a Family Day into your Valentine's Day or your month of February.
Thank you so much for being with us here today at Learn, Do, Become Radio, and a huge thank you to Aaliyah for her recording. It was amazing for me to be able to listen to her perspective, because as I was going through it, so many times I was planning things and creating things, and I thought, nobody even cares. I'm the only one excited about this, or I wish I had more resources, or I wish I had more energy to put into this, or I don't know. I just often didn't realize what an impact it was going to have. But as I've talked with each of our children over the years, I've seen that just this one little annual activity that we do has really meant a lot to them. So thanks again for being here. You can go to the show notes page for links and pictures, and we're even going to put together a little printout where you could plan your own We Love to Be a Family Day. So go to learndobecome.com/episode 111. Thank you. Have an amazing day. We'll see you soon at learndobecome.com.